On number 5, you're trying to figure out which ordered pair is a solution. Basically, I'm going to start with my x's. I have x values of 5, 6, or 7. So I'm just going to pick the middle number 6 and try 6. So I'm going to do 7 halves times 6 plus 7 and see what I get. When I plug that into my calculator, I get 28. So I had an x value of 6, and I ended up getting 28, and that's one of my options. I also decided to start with 6 because I knew I had to do 7 halves times 6, and if you're multiplying something by 7 halves, it's going to have to be an even number to work out correctly. If we did 7 halves, which is 3.5, 3.5 times 5 is going to give us a decimal. 3.5 times 7 is going to give us a decimal. So that's another reason why I decided to choose the x value of 6 and see if either C or E was my correct answer. Next, we're going to go over number 7. And honestly, you can look at the answer key for this specific problem, but the one on the test is going to look more like this. Find the x and the y intercepts for something like 3x plus 9y plus 90 equals 0. And what I would do with this is kind of rearrange it so that I've got 3x plus 9y equals negative 90. So I'd subtract this 90 on both sides to get 3x plus 9y equals negative 90. To find your x-intercept, you are plugging 0 into the other letter. So if I plug 0 into y, 9 times 0 is 0, so that would make that term go away, and we would just have 3x equals negative 90. And we could finish solving that and get x equals negative 30. So the x-intercept, your x value is negative 30, we plugged 0 into the y. To find your y-intercept, you're plugging 0 into the other letter. So plug 0 into the x, that'll make that term go away. We have 9y equals negative 90.
Thank you for including me on it.
So y is negative 10. So our y-intercept, we use 0 for our x, and our y is negative 10. These would be your answers. So if you want to see the actual problem that was on your review, check the answer key online or in class. But I have a feeling that this equation, hint, hint, wink, wink, is going to be more similar to the problem on the test. Next, I wanted to go over number 6. It's not one that was requested, but I think it's important. Your x-intercepts are where it crosses the x-axis. So it crosses the x-axis here, here, and here. Those points would be negative 3, 0, 2, 0, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, I believe. And the y-intercepts are where it crosses the y-axis. It only crosses the y-axis in one spot, and that is at 0, negative 3. On number 14, if you need the formulas, look at the last page of your review. All 3 formulas are there. I will also give you those 3 formulas on the test. First, it's asking you to find the slope of the line passing through these 2 points. So the slope formula, you have to subtract your y's on top and your x's on the bottom. So we would do 2 minus a negative 4 over 5 minus 8. That would be 6 over negative 3. 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. So the slope of the line is negative 2. Then you need to write the equation for the line. This is using point-slope form. For point-slope form, you need the slope, which we just found in part A. You also need the x value of a point. You can pick one of these points. I'm going to pick the one that's positive, and the y value of that point. So to fill this in, we would do y minus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 5. And let me go in and highlight those again so you can see where those numbers came from. Once you have all the numbers in, distribute your slope. And then add 2 on both sides to get y by itself. So you end up with y equals negative 2x plus 12. Then it says graph the line. On the test, I will make sure that, that this is an equation that actually fits on this graph. So I think on your copy, it was even labeled with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with this is 5. So this would be 10, 11, 12, just go 2 higher. That's our y-intercept. And then we go down to right 1, down to right 1, and so on to get our line. On the test, I'll make sure that the y-intercept isn't off the graph so that it's easier to graph. Number 15, determine whether the graphs are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. In order to do this, you need to get them both to look like y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to start with 4x plus 5y equals 2. Subtract 4x on both sides. Divide both sides by 5. And we get y equals negative 4/5 x. And honestly, I don't even care what number comes next. Really, all I care about is that the slope is negative 4/5. So one of our slope is negative 4/5. The other slope, we've got negative 20x plus 16y equals 4. Add 20x. 16y equals positive 20x plus 4. Y equals 20 over 16x, and then I don't care what comes next. But in a calculator, I would do 20 divided by 16, and then change that back to a fraction. That is the fraction 5/4. And if you need help with that on your calculator, please let me know. So that slope is 5/4. So we are comparing the slopes negative 4/5 and positive 5/4. Notice that one of them's positive, one of them's negative, and they are reciprocals of each other. That makes them perpendicular. In number 16, you are determining whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. You need to find the slope of line 1 and then find the slope of line 2. So the slope of line 1, subtract your y's on top, subtract your x's on the bottom. That one is 1. Line 2, subtract your y's on top. You may have to do minus and negative because that first point has negative numbers. Subtract your x's on the bottom. We've got 12 over 12, which is 1. They are both positive 1. They are exactly the same, which means the slopes are parallel. Perpendicular slopes, 1 and negative 1 would be perpendicular slopes because one's positive, one's negative, and if you take 1 and take the reciprocal of it, it still is 1 over 1. So 1 and negative 1 would be reciprocal in that, or would be opposite reciprocals in that case. Number 17, I glanced at the test and I found that the problem on the test, hint, hint, wink, wink, is asking you to write the slope-intercept form of an equation passing through the point that is perpendicular to the line. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do on the video. First thing we need to do is figure out what the heck is the slope for this line. So I would add 9x on both sides. Divide both sides by negative 45 to get y equals, what is that? 9 divided by negative 45. Change that back to a fraction, negative 1/5. And I don't care what that is. I really just care about the slope. So my slope is negative 1/5. The perpendicular slope, since that's negative, the perpendicular slope would be positive, and the reciprocal of 1/5 is 5. So our m is going to be 5, and our point is negative 210. So y minus the y value of our point equals our perpendicular slope times x minus the x value of our point. Minus the negative means plus. Distribute your slope and then get y by itself. Y equals 5x plus 20. Okay, I did not show you the parallel because honestly the one on the test is the perpendicular one. Also, the parallel one is a little bit tougher because you would use negative 1/5 as your slope, which means you'd have to distribute the fraction negative 1/5, and that's just a little bit grosser. Okay, other things that you should know. I'm going to go through here and highlight the problems that are really similar to the ones on the test. Number 1 is very similar to the test, and 2 and 3. So numbers 1, 2, and 3. Definitely number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, vertical line test, that's almost identical to the one on the test. Number 9 is not, but number 10 definitely is. Number 11 is, that says 11. Number 13, number 14, and it's split up just like this on the test. So 14A, B, and C. Number 15, 16, number 17, definitely the perpendicular part of it. And then 18, 19, and 20 are pretty similar. There's only 2 of them on the test, but they are pretty similar. One thing I noticed is that you're going to have to do something to each inequality before it's going to be completely ready. So for example, on this one, you'd have to subtract 3x on both sides before you could graph. This one on the test, if this one was on the test, it might be something like y plus 5 is less than 7. So you'd have to subtract 5 on both sides to make it look like what's ready to graph. This one, you would have to add x to both sides, and then divide everything by 2. So just keep in mind before you graph the inequality, you're going to have to do something to get it ready.